Okay, so I wanted to give you a video that really talks you through your assessment task because I think that sometimes with these specialization workshops, I think they're so valuable because you actually get to hear from people who understand the content and understand what you are trying to do. But it can be quite challenging because, particularly in this online environment, it feels like you're unsure of what you're doing. So, essentially, I wanted to talk through the assessment task with you. So what you would have done by now is you would have created or had a look at a little bit of information from me about what outdoor environmental studies looks like in a classroom. Some of the challenges I have, some of the advice that I would give, some of the things that I think are really important that shape a good outdoor environmental studies class. And so hopefully that's just giving you a little bit of another insight into another way that a teacher thinks about and talks about their outdoor environmental studies class. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to open up the unit plan document that I've given you, and it will look something like this here. So I've chosen Unit 3, Area Study 1, Key Knowledge Point 2 and 3 because I think they work really well together. I think that it is a relatively simple and exciting unit to work through, and I think it really gives you guys the best opportunity to really create something that you think will work well. So the first thing that you need to do is have a look through here, have a look at my flawed unit plan. So you'll notice that while I've given really clear lesson titles and I've given really clear key understandings and key knowledge that I think that the students need to be able to walk away with after each class, my resources are quite sparse and I haven't really allowed for much differentiation. I haven't really showed the connection to the VCAS study design or examiner's reports or anything like that as well. So the first thing that you are going to do, if I can get to it, is you are going to look at part 1, which is this essentially this video, what I'm going through here. Teachers will provide you with a topic or outcome of a unit plan which is given to you. You will brainstorm answers to these high impact questions based on the unit plan. So having a look at this unit plan that I have, let's get back to it. You need to be answering and having a looking at those questions. So what is it that we want our students to learn? Curriculum. I think that that's pretty obvious. When we're talking about curriculum, we are looking at our study design. So if I show you the study design, this is study design for 2020 only because obviously there have been changes to it with COVID-19. And I look at Unit 3, Area of Study 1. We're looking at relationships. So relationships are essentially talking about what are my perceptions, my interactions with outdoor environments? How do I perceive outdoor environments, or how do groups of people perceive outdoor environments? What's the value they place on these environments? And then also, how does that change their interaction with them as well? If we look at Area Study 1, Outcome 1, our key knowledge, we're really looking at these 2 key knowledge points. Now, I'm happy for you when you start to redesign and recreate your unit plan. I'm happy for you to look at either one of them, look at all of them. I'm not really fussed as long as you feel that you are comfortable with it. Essentially, what I want you to be able to do is, if you were to teach Year 12 next year, walk into a classroom and have a unit of inquiry that allows you to explore these with your students. So that's the first thing that you are looking at, is what is it that we want our students to learn? The second thing is, how will we know if our students are learning? So what is it that we are, or how are we going to be assessing our students, and how are we going to make sure that we are learning? You'll notice in the unit plan that I have, the practical experience is a really large part of it. I've put that first. Depending on the timetable of the year, the calendar of the school year, sometimes your practical experience is halfway through, sometimes it's at the end. It can be really challenging to find time to put it. For this one, I've put it as a start. The practical experience that I connect with my students for this topic is the Brisbane Rangers. We look at the Indigenous relationships, so the Wathaurong people before first non-Indigenous settlers, what it was like after, and then we move through different historical time periods. So our first non-Indigenous settlers, increasing population, industrialisation, nation building, and then a consolidation and revision here. So that could be a journal a task because we know if we look at our study design and we look down here at our assessments, we know that for outcome 1, we have 10 marks that are going to be allocated towards a journal or a report demonstrating the links between theoretical content studied and practical experiences undertaken. So you might think that this is a really great opportunity to focus on that journal on just those two key knowledge points and connect that theory and that content. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and in fact it's a good way for you to be able to really get those students to demonstrate that they understand why they've gone on those practical experiences and how what they've learnt on those practical experiences links back to the theoretical content. How we respond when students do not learn. You are going to have a very, very vast range of students in your classes. OES is one of those subjects that attracts a very large range of students. And depending on what your school is as well, does your school offer VCAL? If it doesn't, sometimes OES is kind of where students who would otherwise pursue VCAL will be pushed into. Is your school quite academically challenged? Outdoor environment studies is actually a really great way for students who to get really great marks in that. So, students who I've had in the past who've got 49s, 50s as a study score in other subjects may not have done as well, and that might be their only above 40 score. But so outdoor environmental studies really has a very vast range of students who are learning. So how will we respond when students don't learn? What will we be putting in place? It might not be from that unit design itself, but what would you be able to put in place to allow for differentiation? How will we enrich and extend learning for students who are proficient? So how do we, again, for students who are excelling, how do we really push them? How are we going to make sure that they are extended? Are we going to put in more practice questions for them? Are we going to ask them to create their own questions? Are we going to get them to delve a little bit deeper into particular areas of those relationships? That's for you guys to decide and for you to come together with a consensus about that. I might stop that there and then start the next video so that we're not doing it all in one about the next part 3, or I would say that's part 2 of your assessment. So I'll go through that and I'll see you in a little bit.